Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I want to do the mid-year freakout tag today. First question, I don't know where this started, the mid-year freakout tag. I don't know who first came up with it. I've seen it across many channels. If you know who started it, let me know because I'm curious. The first question is, what is the best book you've read so far this year? And it probably is no surprise to anyone that my favorite book of the year so far is Brotherless Night by V.V. Ganeshanathan. I've gushed about this book repeatedly. I will link my vlog below, my video where I go in depth about my thoughts on that book. The second question is best sequel I've read this year, and I haven't read any sequels. I'm not a huge serial reader. I mean, I say that. However, I feel like I do have series going. I just haven't gotten to the next one yet. The only one that I've read in a series really is Prince Caspian, which is part of the Chronicles of Narnia series. And the question is the best sequel. It's the only one in a series I've read. I wouldn't say it's the best. It was actually probably one of my least favorite in the Chronicles of Narnia series. So hopefully I'll get to more series as the year continues. What new release have you not read yet but want to? And that is The Women by Kristen Hanna. I've heard so many good things about this. I think I mentioned that Kristen Hanna is new to me. I read my first Kristen Hanna at the end of last year. I read The Great Alone, which was a 5-star read for me. I'm pretty sure it was 5-star. It was a 4 or 5-star. Then I read Magic Hour, which was about a 3.5, 4-star. It wasn't as good as The Great Alone, so I've only read 2 Kristen Hanna, but I like where she goes. I like her writing style. I like the research behind a lot of what she goes into in her books. I like the character development. So I look forward to reading more and more by her. This is her most recent book. It's about the Vietnam War, which there's not been a lot written about the Vietnam War. So I'm also very curious from that side of it. So yeah, that's hopefully going to get read in the next couple of months. The next one is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I have not looked at anticipated releases. The only one I looked up was Alice Feeney. She has a new one coming out, but it's not until January 2025. I'm on a book buying ban, so I don't really want to look and see what's coming out yet. Yeah, I just haven't been paying attention. I've seen everyone have their videos of most anticipated releases coming up, and I just haven't watched any of them because I'm on a book buying ban. And so we'll wait until we get there. Biggest disappointment of the year so far is not actually Real Americans by Rachel Khong. It's not my most disappointing, mainly because I did like the first 2/3 of the book and still gave it a 3-star. My most disappointing was The Stickleback Catchers by Lizette Aughton. I've mentioned this before. I just wrapped this up. I DNF'd this at probably 50% through. I liked her previous book, The Secrets at Haven Point, and had really high hopes for this. I liked parts of it. I tabbed parts of it. I think the disability representation is spot on in here. And so, yeah, I really was interested. Unfortunately, I just wasn't really into the story. It was very put downable, and I wasn't called to pick it up again. I think I had this going officially for almost a month and ended up DNFing it because I didn't want to pick it up again. So that was a disappointment. Biggest surprise of the year. So this would probably be Western Lane by Chechna Maru, which I read. It was longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction, I think. I had heard about this book last year. Wasn't too interested in it because I heard it was featured, it was kind of surrounding the game of squash, which I'm not really a fan of. If I want to play sports or watch sports, I want it to be outside. And squash is pretty much in a claustrophobic space. So I kind of held off on reading this. But when it came out on the long list, I did pick it up from the library and was pleasantly surprised by this book. Squash is involved, but not as in depth as I thought. It is really a book about grief and the differences in how people deal with grief in a family. And I highly recommend Western Lane. Favorite new author of the year. So I'm going to say there's a couple of authors that I'm interested in reading more from them. Vivi Ganeshanathan, who wrote Brotherless Night. I definitely want to check into more of her work. And some of the other authors on this list, like I want to read more Kristen Hanna, just to kind of, once I read an author that I enjoy their writing and their character development especially, and can follow the story well, I want to read more from them. And so for this question, I decided to pull out Lily King. I just finished Writers and Lovers. This is my first Lily King. I really do like her writing style. Some people may find it slow. I don't. I just really enjoyed the development of our main character, Casey, and the supporting characters also had some good character development without spending too much time on their stories for the level of importance in the book, which, sometimes there's situations where a side character has all this development and then they're not heard from again in the rest of the novel. And it's kind of, why did we spend so much time on that? Lily King did not do that in this book. I felt like each character got adequate development for their place in the story. So we'll be reading more from Lily King. New fictional crush. So I don't have I don't really get fictional crushes. I will say that I have, and I think I've talked about this here, I have thought about and tried to go into some genres that are out of my comfort zone. I've read a fantasy. I've read a few fantasies. I don't know if they would be considered light fantasy. I don't know how far to get into that. And not been too interested in going further. The other genre that I had kind of ventured into is romance, and I have enjoyed what I've read in the romance genre so far, and I do plan to continue into that genre. And I'll talk more about that in a question coming up. A new favorite character. So I really liked a lot of characters this year. And it was hard to come up with one, but I think I would probably say Sunday, who is the mother in All the Little Bird Hearts by Victoria Lloyd Barlow, was probably one of my favorite characters to read. I felt she was misunderstood by her community and had a hard time communicating what she needed and her emotions, and she kind of reads like she may be on the autism spectrum. I don't remember if it was ever said specifically. I work with people with autism a lot, and I felt it was very accurate depiction. And it's also very accurate to how others respond to people they don't understand or are outside of their realm of understanding personality, or people who have certain likes and dislikes and how that factors into how they live. And I felt like that Sunday's character was very well written in All the Little Bird Hearts. A book that made you cry. So All the Little Bird Hearts, there were several chapters that made me tear up a little bit. I've never really flat out cried at a book before. There are scenes that will tear me up. And like I said, All the Little Bird Hearts definitely had a couple of chapters that really hit me. Independence by Chichna Benjari Divakaruni. There is a scene in this book that I got very close to it. And I think the equivalent of me crying is just, complete and utter why is this happening? So yeah, I would say this had some very harrowing scenes, but there's one particular in the book that definitely got to me. Book that made you happy. So this is talking about the romance genre. I read The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams, and it was just a fun, delightful book. And I have found that I need some more of that than what I had before. Reading a lot of literary fiction, thrillers, horror, anything like that. Sometimes I just need a happy book, and The Cheat Sheet absolutely hit the spot, and I'm very interested in reading more from Sarah Adams. Most beautiful book you've bought or received so far. I can't remember. I may have gotten this at the end of last year. This might have been a Christmas present. But it was definitely, it was a Christmas present, but it was definitely before I had BookTube, so I'm going to share anyway. This is Lost by Donna Ashworth. It's poems to better weather the many waves of grief. I got this from my friend Maria, who I've connected with through BookTube, and her and I have bonded over loss. I lost my mother a couple of years ago, and she lost a family member more recently, and we have just really been there for each other and talked about what the grief process is like. And this is basically just some poetry from Donna Ashworth about grief, and these can definitely get me closer to crying than any other type of book, mainly because the grief is just still very real and very raw, and reading about it just brings up all those feelings. So thank you, Maria, for this gift. And then the last question is books you need to read by the end of the year. So I had a goal to read a specific 12 books in 2024. These were books that have been on my shelves for a long time, many years, some of them, and I needed to get to them, try them, whatever. I have tried 4 of 12, and it's the end of June when I'm recording this. So I need to prioritize these 12. If you're keeping up, you know that I have, of the 4, I've DNF'd 3, and I read 1 fully. That was very strange. Very strange. So the remainder of the 12 is John Irving's A Prayer for Owen Meany, Ann Packer's The Dive from Clawson's Pier, I Captured the Castle by Dodie Smith, Empire Falls by Richard Russo, The Shipping News by E. Annie Proulx. I don't know if I'm saying that right. The Condition by Jennifer Hay. Oh, these get heavier too. We Were the Mulvaneys by Joyce Carol Oates. And Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides. I think I'm reading this one next. I do have the audio came up, and I'm trying to get some of the bigger ones done during Big Book Summer Challenge that's going on right now. So we'll see. If I don't get to them, I unhaul them, and that's that. So we'll see. Let me know how your reading is going so far this year. What are your favorites? What are your disappointments? What anticipated releases are you looking forward to? Maybe I can figure out what I'm looking forward to for the rest of the year. Thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.